Let's do this. Hello, it's March. Wrap up time. Actually, I feel much better with her here. I was getting annoyed because she wanted to come in the office and I was like, no, you're gonna start barking. This is Oreo. This is our senior dog. We've had her close to 14 years now. We've had her since she was like 6 months old. And she's a beauty. All right, this is what you wanted? She says, not really, but I'll take it. For March, I didn't take great notes, so it's mostly just going to be hopefully a quick little wrap up here. We're going to start with movies, and then TV shows, and then books. March was a big rewatch, reread month for me. I was feeling a little blue, so typically when that happens, I like to resort to my comfort movies, comfort reads, comfort listens, just to make the days go by. We watched 4 movies this month. Ferris Bueller's Day Off, which we showed my son for the first time. That was exciting. A funny little sidebar story of that. My husband was actually almost named Ferris because of that movie, and then he has a brother named Cameron. Another comfort rewatch, I saw that Bring It On was on Prime Video, so I rewatched that, and that was very fun. If you've never seen that, it's a high school cheerleading movie where the championship team finds out that all of their routines were stolen, and they have to kind of like rebrand, redo all themselves, and I think it's fun. Then my husband showed me The Rundown. It stars The Rock, and it's basically The Rock's character is like a bounty hunter, and he's told to bring home this rich guy's son. And The Rock, all he wants to do is finish up these jobs so that he can become a chef. She's actually quite heavy, but she's very content. You're not into camera. You're like slowly losing down. So that's the 3 kind of like older movies. And then for me, a new for me movie was The Florida Project. This is a movie that was recommended to me because I was talking about color theory at my job, and a coworker recommended this for their use of color. She said she did warn me that it was a sad movie. At the same time, I am still reading Poverty by America, written by Matthew Desmond, and those 2 things correlate with each other a lot. Her leg just plopped off. I need to put her down. I love you. Lay down here. The themes of the Florida Project is basically based on like how magical a childhood could be even if you are in poverty. It was a very well done film about America, the poverty in America, and ironically, this is a very purple motel right outside of Disney World, which is supposed to be the happiest place on earth. It was a great exploration of that. And William Dafoe's in it, and he's amazing in it. I highly recommend The Florida Project. The TV shows we did this month, I watched Avatar: The Last Airbender. We are almost done. I think we're about 6 episodes in. We are huge, like ginormous Avatar fans. So we obviously had a hard time keeping our expectations low. And I don't think the live action Netflix one has been quite meeting it, but it's not terrible. I can see why some of the changes were made. I'm just unsure why. Well, I can understand that people enjoy live action films more, and so they're trying to bring like a wider audience into the fan base. But there's something so wonderful and nearly perfect about the original Airbender, Avatar: The Last Airbender, that I don't quite understand why the remake is even necessary, but they are trying their best. So far, it's pretty okay. My husband and I started watching Delicious in Dungeon, which is an anime show on Netflix. It's about a group of people who are trying to save their magician, who happens to be the knight's sister. She got eaten by a dragon, and so they are low on resources and low on money, but they have to run back into the dungeon in order to save her in time before she's digested. And so we're watching them make food that's found in the dungeon instead of having to go back to the marketplace. It's kind of strange because it's a little bit, feels like a video game world, because you can come back to life. I talk about having multiple deaths, but it's not like a person that's playing a video game. It's like a real life characters. So that's been interesting. I have a huge love for food anime shows. We wanted to try this one out. I've also started watching The Three Body Problem. So far, it's been really exciting. It's not something that I typically would watch. I have been trying to watch it on my own, and it's gotten my attention. I have not read the books because I find that sometimes sci-fi books are harder for me to understand what's going on. This sci-fi show or adaptation of it has been pretty accessible for me, and so far I really enjoy it. My comfort show of the month that I was rewatching, and I rewatched the whole first season, the only season, is Yona of the Dawn. Yona of the Dawn is about a princess who sees her dad, the king, get assassinated, and she's on the run. So she has to basically survive. I want to say Yona is between the ages of 14 and 17. I want to say she's probably 15 or 16, but sometimes she acts pretty young. As I've mentioned before, I am a comment lurker. I love reading comments. A lot of people don't love Yona, and I think it's because she sounds a little bratty, but she's a princess who's been grown up in a peaceful era. She doesn't quite understand what that means for her land and the people. She just was never educated. So I give her a lot of grace because I find her to have growth even within this first season. Really enjoy the show. If you've ever watched Fushigi Yugi as a kid, it is reminiscent of that. And in order to survive, she is going to have to go find these 4 dragon warriors. One is yellow, green, blue, and white. And so it has that sort of like reverse harem trope, but I found that this is done much better. I really enjoy this anime series, and I hope you'll give it a try. So that's everything on screen, and now we're gonna go to our books. This month, like I said, was a big re-listen month, which means I flew through a lot of these books. I'm going to pop them up on the screen. These are all of the books that I've read this month. I read over 10 books this month, mostly because 5 or 6 of them were mangas. We'll start there since we just finished with Yona of the Dawn. Once I was done watching the show, I found that I really wanted to find out what happens afterwards. So I went ahead and borrowed these from the library, and I've read up to number 15 so far. I believe I looked it up, and we start around volume 9 right after the season is over. So I picked it up from volume 9 to 15. So far, like I said, the character growth, Yona's character growth is really great. I also love that the main love interest in this book is very understanding of how she feels and how she is really traumatic right now. So he really just is not like going for it, which I think is amazing because honestly he's there to protect her, and that's his main job, and that's how he sees it. I find the humor in this manga to be delightful, and I love all the characters so much, so I can't help but just keep reading them. I have the next 5 or so books borrowed from the library, and I'm very close to working through those. As far as my rereads this month, these are all my rereads. 2 of them are the last 2 books in the Lunar Chronicles. Cress is my absolute favorite book. Cress and Thorn is my favorite couple. Anytime I want to reread that series, I pretty much start from there. They're both pretty chunky books, and I find that I can pick up the story from volume 3 basically, and I went from there and finished up the series. I don't want to spoil anything, so I'll just say that it's fantastic. If you've never heard of the Lunar Chronicles, this is a 4-book series with some side books as well. The stories are based on a futuristic America where we have Cinder, who is the main character in the first book. She is a cyborg, and each book follows a similar fairy tale. We'll have Cinderella, Red Riding Hood, Rapunzel, and Snow White. This group of characters is basically going to try to overthrow the Lunar Queen. Version of Earth, we have people who have gone and started to inhabit the moon, and those people have gained magical powers, and their powers are of manipulation. They are able to basically use their mind to make you do whatever they want, and they say that Earthens are the easiest to manipulate. On top of that, there's also a plague that is happening on Earth, and that is also a big factor in the politics of these two worlds. Hopefully I explained it in a way that will convince you to read it, because I think it's really great. It is YA. It does read younger than like your regular fantasy book, but I think it's fantastic, and the fairy tale parallels are done extremely well. The other books that was a reread for me are part of Penny Reid's Winston Brothers series. My favorite couple in there is also book 3, and it is Jen and Cletus. And they also have like side books that are cozy yet smutty mysteries. And so those were the 3 books that I re-listened to because I just wanted to be with characters that I enjoyed and knew would give me a bit of levity back in my life. Upon my re-listen, I actually realized that Marriage for Murder is not my favorite because it was a little bit off character for them, and there are 2 more planned for Jen and Cletus, but I haven't seen anything about like a publishing date or anything like that, so it would be interesting if Penny Reid continues. Her Winston Brothers series is a contemporary romance with smut. It's pretty spicy. It follows the Winston brothers, and they are from a small town in Tennessee. They're clever and smart and charming. Yeah, so that's pretty much all I can say about that. As far as the other books, I had 2 books that were not fantastic. The Keeper of Night and Real Men Knit, I thought were okay. As I'm editing, I realized that I also forgot to talk about A Curse of True Love. So that is the final book in the Once Upon a Broken Heart trilogy, and that finale I thought was done pretty well. I gave it 4 stars. The last book on here is Wolf Children, Ame and Yuki. It is a manga. It's a standalone. I figured out that it was actually based on an adaptation that I've never watched, so that is on my list. But it's about a woman who fell in love with a wolf man and had wolf babies. It's not a common thing in the world, so she and her children move out to the countryside. And it's basically about these 2 wolf children finding their identity and figuring out who it is that they want to become. I think this is amazing because the children are like in their low teens. My son is 12 years old, so I can't imagine him being 13 and already knowing the path of his life. But I thought it was interesting. It's very symbolic, I think, in some ways, where it's talking about growing up and being different and finding your way in the world. And then it's also a great book for just a mom to read because you understand like how she's feeling, and I can only imagine the thoughts that she has in her head as some of her children make decisions that ultimately take them away from her. So, yeah. Those were all the books and movies and shows that I watched in March. Let me know if you watched or read any of these or have any inclination to. Oreo says bye, but she's asleep. And yeah, so happy reading, yummy snacking, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!